Power doesn't always show up in muscles, loud voices, or aggressive reactions. Real power is quiet. It's the man who walks into a room and doesn't flinch, doesn't scramble, doesn't explain, and doesn't bend to emotional pressure. It's the person who can stand in the middle of disrespect, chaos, manipulation, or provocation, and remain unmoved. That silent strength is what Stoicism trains you to build. It's the same strength Marcus Aurelius carried as an emperor, the same discipline Seneca used to face political enemies, the same internal command Epictetus developed as a slave, and the same clarity Einstein used in a world that tried to doubt him. Before we go deeper, I want you to stay with me until the very end, because what you're about to hear is not basic motivation. It is a blueprint for becoming emotionally untouchable. If you want wisdom that makes you calmer, wiser, harder to manipulate, and more respected, make sure you subscribe to this channel. Let's begin. The first rule: control your face, control the room. Strength begins at the level most people ignore, the face. In every intense moment, whether it's conflict, insult, embarrassment, or unexpected pressure, your face becomes your first weapon or your first weakness. And this is where emotional control truly begins. Marcus Aurelius said, "The mind should stand straight," and one way you show that is through a calm, unreadable expression. When you refuse to let your face reveal fear, anger, frustration, or insecurity, you instantly take command of the room. People can sense it. They see that you're not flustered. They feel that you're not shaken. They realize that whatever they expected to break you didn't. Most people collapse because their body reacts before their mind does. Their jaw tightens, their eyes widen, their hands shake, their breathing changes, and the room sees it. Seneca once wrote that the imagination exaggerates danger, and the body follows. Stoics learned to flip this. They train the body to stay still so the mind doesn't panic. Einstein said that calmness is the sign of an intelligent mind because in calmness you can think, observe, and choose your response with clarity. When you keep your face neutral, you are telling the world, I am in control of myself, and therefore I am in control of this moment. You've probably noticed something. The loudest people often feel the weakest inside. They react because reacting makes them feel powerful, even though it actually exposes their lack of power. Epictetus warned that anyone who can anger you becomes your master. When your face changes, your master has already been revealed. Emotional stillness frees you. It tells people they can push, they can provoke, they can test you, but you will not break formation. That makes them rethink their next move. Let me give you a real-life example of this. A man once told me about a confrontation with his superior at work. The superior shouted at him in front of the entire team. Everyone froze, but he didn't. He kept a calm posture, steady eyes, and a neutral expression. He didn't react, didn't defend, didn't tremble. When the shouting ended, he answered in a measured, steady voice. After the meeting, people approached him to say they respected how he handled himself. His calmness made him the strongest man in the room, not the loudest, not the most emotional, the calmest. Marcus Aurelius led armies and governed an empire under extreme pressure. He dealt with betrayals, plagues, wars, and political enemies. Yet he wrote his private journals with a steady tone, never losing control of his inner world. His soldiers followed him because they could look at his face in crisis and see no panic. The Stoics believed that if the mind belongs to you, then the world cannot defeat you. That starts with the expression you wear during chaos. One of Einstein's greatest strengths wasn't his intellect, it was his emotional neutrality. When critics attacked his theories or mocked his ideas, he didn't react with anger or insecurity. He kept his composure, breathed slowly, and answered with calm clarity. That neutrality made him unbeatable in intellectual battles. It allowed him to think sharper, speak cleaner, and dismantle arguments without ever losing control. Stoicism teaches the same thing. When you don't react, you can outthink anyone. Epictetus, despite living much of his life as a slave, developed the same skill. He trained himself to keep his facial expression calm even when insulted, humiliated, or mistreated. Someone once asked him how to win emotional battles. His answer was simple: be silent as long as possible. Silence confuses the enemy. Silence throws off their rhythm. Silence forces them to reveal their weaknesses, while you reveal none. A calm face is not just composure, it is strategic dominance. If someone tries to provoke you, disrespect you, embarrass you, or drag you into their emotional storm, your stillness becomes the blade they cannot block. Keep your shoulders steady. Keep your jaw relaxed. Keep your breath slow. Keep your eyes focused. Let their chaos crash against your calmness and fall apart. When you show no reaction, you break the pattern. You become unpredictable, and nothing is more intimidating than a person who cannot be emotionally moved. The world belongs to men who can remain calm under attack. When your face is still, your enemies lose confidence. When your energy is steady, manipulators lose access. When your composure is unshaken, people rethink the way they speak to you. That is the power of Stoic emotional control. You win not by force, not by argument, not by reacting, but by maintaining inner command while the world tries to pull you out of it. The second rule, speak less, observe more. Powerful people don't rush to speak. They take their time. They watch. They listen. They measure the room before they open their mouth. The weak man forces his words into every space. The strong man uses silence as his first strategy. Epictetus said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." That wasn't just a philosophical idea. It was a tactical advantage. Silence helps you think more clearly, observe motives, and understand what people are really saying. The silent man always sees more than the man who talks too much. Marcus Aurelius practiced this every day. As emperor, he could have spoken over anyone, but he didn't. His journals reveal a man who believed observing human behavior was more important than reacting to it. He wrote about watching the behavior of others so he could learn how to shape his own. The Stoic approach is simple. Let other people expose themselves with their words while you gather information. The more you talk, the more you reveal. The more you listen, the more powerful you become. People think silence means weakness, but silence is strategy. Seneca said, "If you begin with certainty, you will end in doubt. But if you begin with doubt, you will end in certainty." A Stoic uses silence to suspend judgment, to gather facts, to see through manipulation, to study character. When someone tries to provoke you, silence exposes their true intent. When someone lies, silence encourages them to keep talking until they contradict themselves. When someone brags or postures, silence forces them to fill the space with insecurity. Einstein believed that answers come to those who think slowly and deeply. He once joked that if he had an hour to solve a problem, he'd spend 55 minutes thinking and only 5 minutes speaking. That's how much he valued silence. He knew you don't lose time by thinking, you lose time by reacting without understanding. And emotional control is built on understanding. How can you control a situation you don't fully see? How can you guide a conversation you don't understand? Speaking less makes you sharper. Let me give you a real example. A man once told me he was in a heated negotiation where the other party became emotional and loud. Instead of matching the tone, he stayed silent. He let the other man speak, stumble, over-explain, contradict himself, and eventually reveal his real fear. By the time he responded, he already knew exactly what leverage he had. Silence didn't make him weak, it made him tactical. He won not by force, but by observation. Stoicism teaches you that speaking less protects your emotional energy. When you speak reactively, you give power away. You let others guide your emotions. But when you slow down your speech, when you pause, when you allow silence to stretch, you regain control. You speak only when your words have weight. You speak only when your mind is steady. You speak only when you choose, not when you're provoked. Epictetus trained his students to answer questions with calm, minimal words. He believed long explanations were a sign of insecurity. Strong men do not over-explain. They do not seek approval. They do not rush to defend themselves. They speak with intention. They speak with clarity. They speak with certainty. And they use silence as a shield and weapon. People who cannot handle silence expose their lack of inner control. They fill silence because they fear it. They mistake noise for strength and reaction for power. But the Stoic knows the opposite is true. Control comes from holding back, from observing quietly, from giving the moment space to reveal hidden truths. When you speak only when necessary, your words hit harder. In every conflict, every confrontation, every negotiation, every argument, hold silence first. Let the noise pass. Let the chaos settle. Let the truth reveal itself. Speaking less is more than emotional control, it is emotional superiority, and the one who observes more always wins. The third rule, master the pause before you respond. Most people respond instantly. They hear something offensive, and their mouth fires back. They receive a disrespectful comment, and they react without thinking. They get triggered, and their emotions take over. But Stoicism teaches that the greatest power lies in the pause, the moment between what happens and how you choose to respond. Seneca said, "Anger is a momentary madness, and madness only wins when the pause is missing. The pause is where the mind returns to order. The pause is where wisdom enters. The pause is where the emotional storm weakens." Marcus Aurelius wrote repeatedly about slowing down his reactions. He reminded himself that before responding, he must ask, is this within my control? Is this worth my peace? That pause shaped his leadership. When you pause, you interrupt your instincts long enough to choose strategy over impulse. Instead of reacting emotionally, you respond intelligently. Instead of giving someone control over your mood, you maintain command over yourself. The pause is the gatekeeper between your calm mind and the chaos around you. Einstein understood the power of pausing more than most. Whenever he faced criticism, confusion, or pressure, he didn't rush to answer. He thought. He breathed. He allowed the problem to settle before responding. He believed clarity came to the mind that waits. This is why his solutions were so powerful. They weren't emotional reflexes, they were deliberate, calculated responses. The Stoic does the same with emotions. When provoked, he pauses. When insulted, he pauses. When confronted, he pauses. And in that pause, he regains full control. Epictetus trained his students to delay their reactions even when anger shot up immediately. Do not say the first thing that comes to your mind, he taught. Test it, examine it, question it, because the first response is always the emotional one. The controlled response is the tested one. The man who pauses owns himself. The man who doesn't pause belongs to the emotion that controls him. Consider a real example. A woman once heard a rumor that a coworker was speaking badly about her. Her first instinct was to confront the coworker and defend herself, but she practiced the pause. She waited. She observed. She gathered facts. She discovered the rumor was false. If she had reacted instantly, she would have created a conflict that didn't exist. The pause saved her from a mistake. The pause preserved her dignity. The pause gave her power. The pause is especially important in relationships. Emotional reactions destroy trust, escalate arguments, and break respect. When you pause before responding, you diffuse tension. You de-escalate. You create space for logic instead of emotion. You become the stable one. And in every relationship, the stable one holds the real influence. When someone loses control, your calmness becomes the anchor. Marcus Aurelius paused in war councils, political debates, and moments of crisis. He believed a leader must never speak from emotion. A leader must speak from clarity, and clarity only comes from waiting. When you pause, your tone becomes calmer, your thinking becomes clearer, and your response becomes more effective. That is how Stoics keep their power, by refusing to let the moment dictate their reaction. Einstein once said that the difference between stupidity and genius is that genius has its limits. The pause is where you prevent yourself from crossing those limits. When you don't pause, you act foolishly. You send messages you regret. You say things you cannot take back. You fight battles you don't need to fight. But when you pause, you choose your battles wisely. You respond with intelligence, not impulse. Now, listen carefully. If you want more content that strengthens your emotional control, your discipline, your inner power, subscribe to this channel. It helps this message reach more people, and it helps you stay connected to the wisdom that will keep you calm, unshakable, and mentally sharp. The pause is the difference between a reactive person and a powerful person. Master it, and you master yourself. The fourth rule, hold your emotions like a warrior holds a blade. A warrior does not swing his sword wildly. He holds it with intention, precision, and restraint. Stoic emotional control works the same way. Your emotions are not the enemy. Your lack of command over them is. People think strength means feeling nothing, but that is wrong. Strength means feeling everything and letting nothing control your actions. Marcus Aurelius felt grief, pressure, anger, and frustration, but he didn't serve those emotions. He studied them, he managed them, he used them as fuel, not chains. He wrote, "The mind adapts and turns obstacles into fuel. That is emotional mastery." Epictetus taught that emotions are like wild horses, powerful, but only dangerous when left untrained. A Stoic trains his emotional impulses the way a warrior trains his weapons. Your anger can be turned into discipline. Your fear can be turned into caution. Your sadness can be turned into depth. Your frustration can be turned into focus. But this only happens when you hold your emotions, not when you throw them into the world. The world does not respect emotional explosions. The world respects emotional command. Seneca wrote extensively about managing rage. He believed that uncontrolled anger is a form of temporary insanity. A man who rages becomes a slave to the moment. A man who controls his anger becomes a master of consequences. The Stoics understood that emotional outbursts damage credibility, relationships, and opportunities. They show weakness, not strength. A warrior knows when to strike and when to stay still. Emotional control is the same discipline, knowing when to speak, when to stay silent, and when to walk away. Einstein faced enormous criticism throughout his life. Entire academies mocked his theories. Politicians attacked his identity. Newspapers called him a fraud. But he refused to answer with rage or defensiveness. He answered with intelligence, clarity, and calmness. His emotional discipline allowed him to change the world. Without emotional control, even genius becomes wasted. With emotional control, even ordinary people become extraordinary. Here is a real example. A man once discovered that a colleague was taking credit for his work. His first instinct was to confront him in anger, but he remembered the Stoic principle. Hold your emotions like a blade. He paused. He planned. He collected evidence. Then he presented everything to management calmly, professionally, without a single emotional outburst. The colleague was exposed. The man earned a promotion. Emotional control turned a problem into a victory. Stoicism teaches that emotions are information, not commands. When you feel anger, ask what boundary was crossed. When you feel fear, ask what risk you need to prepare for. When you feel jealousy, ask what insecurity needs strengthening. When you feel sadness, ask what truth needs acceptance. Emotions are signals. They are not steering wheels. You hold them, they do not hold you. Marcus Aurelius said you should be like a cliff against which the waves continually break, but it stands firm and tames the fury of the water. That is emotional mastery, not a dead heart, but a disciplined one. The waves will come, the insults, the disrespect, the disappointments, the provocations, they will all hit you. But when you decide that your emotions will serve your goals, not sabotage them, you become untouchable. A warrior is dangerous because he never wastes his blade on foolish battles. A Stoic is powerful because he never wastes emotions on meaningless reactions. Hold your emotions with discipline. Choose your battles. Protect your peace. Act with intention. This is how a Stoic becomes unstoppable. The fifth rule, let small things die before they touch you. Most people are destroyed by small things. A disrespectful comment ruins their day. A delayed message ruins their mood. A mistake embarrasses them. A rumor shakes their confidence. But Stoicism teaches that the strongest mind is the one that refuses to let small things survive long enough to cause damage. The truth is simple. Not everything deserves your energy. Not every comment deserves a reaction. Not every insult deserves your attention. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You can choose not to be harmed, and you will not feel harmed." That is one of the greatest powers a human can develop. Seneca taught his students to shrink their problems instead of magnifying them. He said, most of the pain we feel comes from how much importance we give things that do not matter. People lose control over tiny inconveniences because they treat every inconvenience like a crisis. A Stoic does the opposite. He filters. He decides quickly what deserves his energy and what should die immediately. Small things only grow when you feed them with reactions. Epictetus warned that people are controlled by what they choose to care about. If you care about everyone's opinion, you become emotionally fragile. If you care about every rumor, you become mentally unstable. If you care about every small disrespect, you become exhausted. But when you choose emotional minimalism, when you focus only on what truly matters, you become mentally powerful. You control your mind by choosing your battles with precision. Einstein once said that you cannot solve a problem with the same mindset that created it. If you react emotionally to small things, your life becomes filled with small problems. But if you rise above them, your mind stays clear enough to focus on larger goals. Great thinkers do not waste energy on small negativity. They save their energy for innovation, creation, and purpose. That is why they achieve more. Let me give you a real example. A woman once told me she was constantly stressed by coworkers who made passive-aggressive remarks. Every comment bothered her. Every tone change upset her. Every joke at her expense stayed in her head. She felt drained. But when she learned the Stoic mindset of letting small things die, everything changed. She ignored the petty comments. She stopped explaining herself. She stopped reacting. And the moment she stopped giving attention, the remarks stopped. Why? Because small negativity cannot survive without your energy. Marcus Aurelius faced endless criticism as emperor. People gossiped about him. Politicians tried to undermine him. Even his closest allies sometimes disappointed him. But he wrote, "Waste no time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. That means focus on your mission, not your distractions. Let the small-minded stay small. You stay focused." Stoicism is not about being passive. It is about being selective. When you ignore small negativity, you protect your mental strength. When you ignore petty provocation, you preserve your emotional energy. And when you refuse to let small things touch you, you become larger than the world's nonsense. The people who rise in life are the ones who stop responding to every little thing that tries to pull them down. You become emotionally invincible the moment you decide that not every battle is worth fighting, not every voice is worth hearing, and not every event is worth reacting to. Let small things die quickly. Let them drop before they reach your heart. Let them fade before they steal your peace. That is how a Stoic stays powerful in a chaotic world. Finally, strength doesn't come from having an easy life. It comes from mastering a difficult one. And if you've stayed with me until this point, you're not here for soft motivation. You're here because you want to become someone who cannot be shaken, manipulated, provoked, or emotionally controlled by anyone. You're here because you are building a mind that doesn't collapse under pressure, a heart that doesn't break from small things, and a spirit that does not bow to disrespect or chaos. That is the essence of Stoicism. It molds you into someone who can walk through fire and come out sharper, calmer, and more disciplined than before. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his private journal that the world will always test you, but your response is what defines you. He faced betrayal, war, sickness, and political sabotage, and still found clarity, dignity, and strength in the middle of it. That is the level of emotional control we aim for. Someone can try to pull you into drama, and you stay unmoved. Someone can underestimate you, and you stay focused. Someone can attack you, and you stay disciplined. Because when you own your emotions, nothing and no one can own you. Seneca believed that the man who trains his mind becomes unstoppable. Life will bring storms, unexpected losses, broken relationships, disrespect, frustration, stress, and disappointments. Most people crumble under these things because they never learned emotional discipline. They chase validation, react to insults, respond to every provocation, and let the world dictate how they feel. But the Stoic mindset teaches you something different. You don't answer to the world. The world answers to your inner stability. The more silent and self-controlled you become, the more powerful you grow. Epictetus, who lived much of his life as a slave, taught that freedom begins in the mind. People think freedom is external, money, status, comfort, but Stoics know true freedom comes from mastering the emotions inside you. When you stop reacting to every noise around you, you stop being controlled by other people's behavior. That is where your strength begins, and that is where your peace begins. You rise above the emotional games others play, because you refuse to be pulled into their level. Einstein lived in a world filled with political hate, scientific criticism, and constant pressure. Yet he kept his calmness intact. He stayed focused on what mattered and ignored the noise. Stoicism is not about emotionlessness, it's about emotional precision. You choose what deserves your energy and what does not, and when you make that choice consistently, your life changes in ways people won't understand. They won't understand why you don't get angry easily. They won't understand why you don't panic. They won't understand why you look so steady while they break. That's because you've entered a level of emotional self-mastery most people never reach. Now listen closely. If you want to continue becoming this version of yourself, calm, controlled, resilient, dangerous in your silence, powerful in your discipline, then don't walk away from this channel. Stay connected, stay learning, stay sharpening your mind. Everything I create here is designed to help you grow into the strongest version of yourself. Not just physically, not just socially, but mentally, because that's where real dominance begins. If you want life to stop controlling you, if you want people to stop manipulating your emotions, if you want to handle stress, insults, pressure, and uncertainty like a warrior, subscribe to this channel right now. Subscribing isn't just clicking a button, it's joining a path, a philosophy, a community of people who are tired of reacting and ready to start mastering. People who are building discipline instead of excuses. People who are building emotional strength instead of emotional fragility. People who want to think sharper, move smarter, and remain unshakable no matter what life throws at them. If that's who you want to become, then this channel is your home. Every video, every lesson, every message here is designed to make you harder to break and easier to respect. Stoicism is not a trend. It is not a slogan. It is a lifestyle. And once you start walking this path, people around you will notice the difference. They'll notice your silence has weight. They'll notice your expressions stay calm. They'll notice you don't argue unnecessarily. They'll notice your energy stays steady. They'll notice they can't provoke you the way they used to. Because you now understand that emotional chaos is a trap and discipline is your escape. Your past doesn't define you. Your triggers don't define you. Your mistakes don't define you. What defines you is how you rise from them and how you handle everything that comes next. And the fact that you're still here, listening, learning, absorbing, shows me something important about you. You're not average. You're not looking for comfort. You're looking for transformation. And transformation requires discipline, emotional control, and the willingness to fight battles inside yourself that most people run away from. So let me say it clearly. Subscribe, not later, not someday, right now. Because the lessons coming next will take you deeper into this mindset, deeper into strength, deeper into self-mastery, deeper into the kind of power that does not shake. And if you apply what you learn, people won't understand how you became so stable, so calm, so composed, so unbothered. But you will know. You will know because you built it. The world needs stronger minds. Your future needs a stronger you. And if you want to continue this journey of power, discipline, and emotional mastery, this is your channel. Join it, grow with it, and become the kind of person who doesn't just survive life, but leads it. Subscribe now, and I'll see you in the next lesson.